Hey everybody, we made it to week 3. So for this week, you have a reading assignment of from the Warehouse Management book, Chapter 12, Warehouse Costs. Then from the Inventory Management book, we're going to cover Chapters 2, 3, and 4. Chapter 2 is on Inventory as Money. Chapter 3 is Physical Location and Control of Inventory. And then Chapter 4 is Automatic Identifications. All right, so for the week 3 discussion, first of all, I want to say make sure that you're posting at least 4 separate posts on 3 separate days. When you do not do that, it does deduct points from each section because I'm grading everybody else based on that number of posts. So if you're not posting that, I can't fairly give you full credit for those different sections. So make sure that you're posting 4 separate posts on 3 separate days. If you're having difficulty and you contact me before the due date, then I will try to work with you whatever way I can, but it can't be every week, and it has to be a legitimate reason. All right, so for this week, your first discussion question talks about, we have talked about the importance of electronic data interface and the sharing of information up and down the supply chain, and how sharing this information helps to control the bullwhip effect. By now, everybody should know what the bullwhip effect is. If you don't, let me know. Do you think that there should be controls on what information is shared up and down the chain and to whom? Or do you feel that all the warehousing information should be shared with everyone up and down the chain, even if it's proprietary information? So you can use your book to talk about this, but I also want your opinion on this as well. And the second part of the discussion question this week is, you are the warehouse manager. You have obsolete stock within your warehouse, and your reading this week talks about that. You have naysayers telling you that we need to keep this stock. What are some of the reasons for getting rid of the obsolete stock? And explain, as if you were replying to your naysayers or your opposition, as to why we need to dispose of this stock. Then the second part of that question is, as we move to more automated systems, do you feel that radio frequency identification, also known as RFID, is worth the cost? Is there any time that you feel that RFID would not be a good fit for a warehouse? Have you personally had any interaction with RFID systems? If so, share that. If so, what was your experience? Okay, so I haven't done this in the past, and I probably should have, but I'm gonna pull up that's the wrong rubric. So you know exactly what you're being graded on, and by now with the discussions you should. So the first thing I look at is your quality of post. Were you thoughtful? Were you respectful? Were you reflective in your comments? Were your posts at least 100 words in length for the discussion? Each post should be 100 words. And again, if you're not posting the required number of posts on the required number of days, you're going to lose points. You're going to start off with 12 or 6, depending on how many posts you've provided. The second thing is, I look at the relevance to the topic. I look to see if you adequately address the topic. Did you answer the questions that I asked of you, if I asked any? So when I do ask questions, I would like a response, because I took time to answer your post, and I would like you to take time to read and answer mine. The same with your fellow students. I would like you to answer them as well. Contribution to the discussions. Did you post the 4 separate posts on 3 separate days? It's cut and dry. If you didn't, then you're going to go down in points. Spelling and grammar. I go through, and as I'm reading, I identify spelling and grammatical errors, as well as conduct a spelling grammar check. So what I do is I copy your post, put it into a Word document, and conduct a spelling grammar check. And as well as when I'm reading through it, I catch errors. And for each error that I find, a point is taken off. APA guidelines. Did you include, at least at minimum, your textbook as a reference and in-text citation. Since we are reading and discussing these topics, I would assume that you're going back to your textbook to gain information. So at minimum, you should have one in-text citation and a reference. And this week I'm going to start getting more into the formatting of it too. So make sure that you're looking at that. I'm going to show you something when we talk about the article assignment, how to look up in the library how to correctly cite your papers. Alright, so that's the rubric for the discussion. Then from there we have the week 3 inventory management article review. So here you're going to go into the library website. You can use ProQuest or EBSCO. It doesn't have to be ProQuest, and I should update that to say EBSCO as well. In fact, you can use any search engine in there, but ProQuest and EBSCO are traditionally business based, so it helps you. Find an article that's related to inventory management that interests you. Provide a summary on the article explaining how the article applies to your weekly reading for week 3. So it shows me that you can read, understand what you're reading, and apply it to the real world situation going on within the article. Your article must be from a scholarly source. Again, Wikipedia is not considered a scholarly source. Anybody can add to that. We're talking journal articles, we're talking dissertations if you want to read through one, we're talking newspaper articles, or magazine articles from reputable magazines and newspapers, of course. National Enquirer, not so much. And I doubt that they're going to have an inventory management article anyway. So I must be able to find the article fairly easily, and if you're looking in ProQuest or EBSCO, it gives you a retrieved from number that I can look at, but I can also look up the title if you've formatted it correctly. If you're unsure as to how to log into the library, let me know. I will show you that. It is in the Blackboard. If you click on the library source, it takes you there, and then you go to the databases, click on P for ProQuest or E for EBSCO. Then once you get in there, you can go from there. So, and I will show you that in just 1 second. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the rubric real quick on, this is the, no, that's the PowerPoint, sorry. Should have had them lined up a little bit better. Okay, so for the article paper, I'm going to look to see, did you submit it as instructed? Was it double spaced? Was it in a Word document? Does it have 250 words? And if it doesn't, then you go down in points. Submission is on topic. The assignment submitted addressed either inventory as money, location and control of inventory, or automatic identifications. Those are the topics I'm looking for from your article, because that's what we're reading about this week. Spelling and grammar, same thing. I take your Word document, I do a spelling grammar check, and for each error I deduct a point. You're already writing it in Word, so make sure that you're doing a spelling grammar check before you submit it so that you don't lose points in this section. To me, spelling and grammar is one area that nobody should lose points in. We have the ability to do a spelling grammar check, especially in a Word document. So there, that is. APA guidelines. Does it have a separate title page? Does it have a separate reference page? And do you have corresponding in-text citations for the references? Now, the one thing I've noticed is you'll list all of the references that you use to do your paper, but there will be no in-text citations to correspond to those references. What you need to do is anything that you use in your writing, you will cite and have the reference below. If you did not use that research in your paper, do not list it. So just make sure that any in-text citations you have the corresponding reference below. Anything listed other than that is not needed. So that's the rubric for the spelling assignment. Now, if I go up to the library. Most of you know how to do this, or should by now. Click on library, click on annotated database list, and then you can go to ProQuest. Go down, ProQuest Central. Then once it comes up, you do your search. I'm just going to take the first thing that comes up just to show you what I'm talking about. So if you click on this article, it's a scholarly journal. Up here in the right hand corner, there's a place called Cite. If you click on that, it will come up with the APA 6th. They haven't updated to the 7th. I'm not that hard on that right now because they just switched over to the 7th, so I'm not being real hard on whether you've formatted it in the 6th edition or the 7th edition of the APA guidelines. But the formatting has not really changed that much. So if you do it like this, that's correct. So your first line should be flush with the left margin, and then every other line after that should be indented 5 spaces. Your author's publishing date, the name or the title of your article, and you do not capitalize the article in the citation. And then you have the journal that it came from, the section retrieved from, and this is where I can look up this number right here and it will bring me right to this article, or I can put in the title of the article and it will bring it up that way. Now if you're going to do EBSCO, you're going to go back to the library resource, annotated database, E for EBSCO, scroll down, EBSCO database platform, and we're going to hit B for business source complete. And then you can put it inventory management. It'll search for the article. Alright, so we're going to click on this one. It brought up the article. Now if I scroll down to the right, there's something called Cite. If I go into that, it's going to ask me what format. There's AMA, there's ABNT, APA. This is how you would do APA references. And if you're having problems with citations, usually it's the author or authors and the publishing date. Again, if you're having problems with APA, let me know, but these are easy ways to get your citations and your get your references correct at least. All right. So from there we have the term presentation. So this week you're required to turn in 3 slides, 3 rough draft slides that you have prepared for your presentation. You should have 3 slides and they should have narrative in them, and you'll submit them up here by hitting this just like you did normally, and scroll down, browse your computer, and or Troy, if you're using the cloud storage, use the cloud storage, but browse my computer and then go from there and submit it. Now the rubric that I use for this one, I think it's this one, yep. Alright, so it's not very long. Were 3 slides submitted? Yes, 50 points. 2 slides submitted? 25 points. 1 or less, 0 points. Narration included, 50 points. If narration's on all 3 slides. If you have narration on at least 2 slides, 25 points. And then if narration is on 1 or less slides, then 0 points. Now what I will do is I will review those slides and make suggestions for improvement. And if you have any questions or want anything addressed, please let me know. via email so that I can do that when I grade those. What else was I going to show you about that? Oh, in the announcement section,